permit me in this very new environment to acknowledge first and foremost the presence of Father Brent Alexis, who exhorted Almighty God to intervene on our behalf as a people and as a nation. Deputy Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Member of Parliament for Tunapuna, Mr. Esmond Ford, my cabinet colleagues of Parliament for St. Joseph, Minister of Health, Mr. Terence Dale Singh, Member of Parliament for San Fernando East, who holds the portfolio with the responsibility for UDICOT, Mr. Randall Mitchell, and your own Member of Parliament for this valley, Member of Parliament for St. Anne's East, Mrs. Nyan Gadsby Dolly, Member of Parliament for Lawakata Talparo, Minister of Public Administration and Government Communications, Mr. Maxi Coffey. But today was a day for the police. The people, acknowledgement of Acting Commissioner Stephen Williams and his men, and those who represent the 2nd Division, particularly Mr. Michael Seals, who is here with us today, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen, those who built this building, Mr. Noel Garcia, Chairman of UDICOT and his board, members of the staff of UDICOT, permanent secretaries, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, and in their absence, acknowledge the children who welcomed us here this morning in this valley. Let me take this opportunity given to me by you to acknowledge that perfection is always a work in progress. And there are very few things that are accepted as perfection by all and who would not find shortcomings. Yesterday, at another press conference, I indicated that as part of our continuation in responding to the need for safety and security in the country, that on that day, brought to us by the Minister of National Security, on the recommendation of the police management, that we needed more manpower to investigate the crimes that are taking place in the country. And here it is in a situation where money is hard to come by and we have a whole lot of priorities. Everyone thinks that their requirement is the priority, and the government has to balance those priorities and decide where the money will go at this time or next time and so on. So we took a decision to hire not only a few, but a considerable component of crime scene investigators to improve the police's ability to investigate crime. And I wasn't surprised when I received a comment, text to me by a very senior member of the national community who said to me, you know, you all shouldn't do that, because to do that is to acknowledge that there's a runaway crime in the country. Because if you are accepting that you have to hire so many more crime scene investigators, that is the government conceding that crime has taken over the country. No, that is how one citizen saw it. But I'm sure that is not how the Commissioner of Police and his men would see it. Because whether we like it or not, there are citizens in this country who choose criminal conduct as a way of life. And there are people who incidentally end up committing crime. Two categories of criminals: those who plan to commit crime and execute their plan, and those who, in conducting their business, sometimes loss of emotion, anger gets over, and they commit a crime. On every occasion, there's a requirement to investigate that crime. And one of the most frequent crimes in this country, which is disturbing to the national psyche, is violent crime. Many times, murder. It is inconceivable that we could take the position that we could limit our investigative ability in these situations. Whatever our priorities, that has to be one of them. Investigating circumstances surrounding the committing of crime, so that those who would have committed those crimes would be held accountable for their actions, and of course that justice will be served. Because you see, I'm a firm believer in the interpretation that one of the stimuli that would encourage criminal conduct in Trinidad and Tobago is the view in the minds of citizens that if they commit crimes, there's a very good chance that the crime will not be detected. That has to be a catalyst for committing crime. If you believe that you could commit this crime and have a very good chance of not being detected, when you make that decision to commit the crime, that consideration would assist you in deciding to commit the crime. There's no way the police could be present with every citizen and to be acting in a way to prevent every citizen on every occasion not commit crime. Citizens have an advantage and the criminals have an advantage which we'll never have. That advantage is they will decide when they'll commit the crime, where they'll commit it, and to whom they'll commit it. But when they do that, we must all know that if you do that, you have a very good chance of being discovered, and once you're discovered, there's going to be an arrest, there's going to be prosecution, there's going to be conviction, there's going to be a sentence, and there'll be justice served. That's all we can hope for. That's the only way we can approach this issue. Because we cannot take the position that there's something to be done, as some might have you believe, to prevent some person of infamy to take a knife and slit the throat of a 13-year-old who is left by his parents in the care of the neighbors. That is happening in our country, and you have to ask yourself, even as we talk, as I talk, what was the role of the police in preventing that from happening? What's the role of the government? Even the parent of that person. But we in the government, we in the police service, we, the rest of the citizenry, we want to say to those persons, if you think about doing that, think twice, because it is our intention to detect you and to prosecute you to the hilt of the law. That must be a standard in this country. Not today, next week, or next month. That has to be a sustained response from the people of Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, as we commit ourselves to doing that, yesterday in that same press conference, a member of the media said to me in all seriousness, why are we still continuing with the police in this fight against crime, when the police is seen to be failing and not really living up to the situation? As I said to them yesterday, I want to say again today, we have no other option. It is the police and the security agencies that we will have to, that we must, and that we are depending on to protect us from those who would have chosen crime as a way of life and who would harm the society, or who would have committed crimes in the incidentals of their existence. Because under our Constitution, which governs all our conduct, especially those of us who hold office, the Constitution spells out who is responsible for what. I had the executive, I had the cabinet. There are some people who believe that the Prime Minister can do anything and must do everything, and must be involved in everything. But they will understand, if they are explained to, that the Constitution circumscribes the role of the cabinet. In the same way the Constitution spells out who will secure the state. In terms of the duty of office, the Commissioner of Police is not subject to instructions from anybody in the executive. Even the minister has to be careful how he relates to the Commissioner of Police, lest it be said that the Commissioner of Police is carrying out the minister's bidding as a political instruction. Lest it be said that the minister is interfering in the policing of the country. Because the very same people who want the Prime Minister and the minister to go out there and drive this horse down this track, if we take that basket, those are the same people who will point out that the executive is overstepping its bounds. So we, while we support and work with the police, we have to know where our boundary is in the Constitution. And that is why I, as Prime Minister, acknowledges the role and the involvement and the responsibility of the Commissioner of Police. And I've said from day one, as Prime Minister, I, as Prime Minister, will hold the police responsible for what they are assigned. That is the Constitution. We don't have an option to say, okay, put aside the police and use something else. What is the something else? Who are going to be this something else? So let us disabuse ourselves of that. And that being so, it means that we have to continue at every level, from the cabinet right down to the constable and the person who cleans the station, to accept the police and to work on an improvement of the quality and the output and the conduct of our police service. I can tell you, there was a time in this country when police officers were regarded quite differently to the way they're being regarded today. My fault, your fault, anybody's fault, that's a fact. There was a time when the sergeant in the district was regarded and acknowledged by all to be the person in charge of the district, like the headmaster. Over time, things have changed, things have happened. We have far more policemen now, we have a better uniform, I think, they're in long pants now and so on. But the bottom line is, one of the things that the commissioner and his men and women are required to do is to hanker after that past, to rebuild a police service that the citizen can respect, trust, and have confidence in. Commissioner just spoke about some successes that passed unnoticed in the last 24 hours. But the most important success that I will use as a yardstick in measuring the progress of the police service is when citizens begin to say, maybe in whispers, and then hopefully by a shout, that they trust the police service and they are prepared to provide the information in the way he has described. That those successes, some of them, would have been as a result of cooperation with the population, information being shared. So it may not be dollar worth, it might be something intangible. But talking about dollar, having committed to improving the police service along the way as a sustained assignment, and accepting that it is our police service that stands between us, our families, our communities, and the criminal element, there's a cost to that. And those of you who've been following the budgeting arrangement over the years, you would have seen national security climbing from way down the totem pole up to number 2 in terms of allocation of financial resources of Trinidad and Tobago. That is a response to the growth of criminal conduct in Trinidad and Tobago. The corollary is, had it not been so, we might have had $1 billion or $2 more to spend on something else. But prioritizing, we have to keep finding money to spend on the police service and the general security system so that we can survive the onslaught of the criminal element. Education remains number 1. And if the criminal conduct continues like this, it might very well be that in responding to the criminal element, which I might say are not a majority in this country, in fact, it must be a small minority, but the effect on the population is quite far-reaching. Yesterday, Cabinet took another decision when confronted with a request to provide $34 million to maintain, I don't mean buy, just to maintain, 34 million US dollars, that's 200 million TT dollars, $200 million to provide the maintenance for 4 of our helicopters. We as a cabinet have to make a decision in allocating resources to our defense, to our security, to our police service, to our SSA, whatever. Is that the best way to spend $200 million from a kitty that is almost empty? And we regrettably had to take the decision that we don't have that $200 million. We just don't have it. As a matter of fact, we have been and we will continue to seek to find cheaper alternatives to look down from the air. There are those who will tell us that because it was there, because that was so, all the government has to do is just find the money and pay it and have it. But when we spend money, what we are doing at this cabinet is trying to get value for money. Let me give you an example. In working with the MPs for Laventille and the Laventille community, we promised them a swimming pool in Sober and Trace That's only one part of Laventille, a little hollow on the western side of Laventille. A swimming pool. They have swimming pools all over the country. We promised a little community swimming pool to Laventille, and our instructions were given, the cabinet agreed, we'll have a swimming pool in Laventille. No problem. Until they came to us with the cost of the swimming pool. $25 million. Unless they're swimming in liquid gold, we're not doing that. So, of course, instead of proceeding to build a swimming pool, we had to send them away to go back and come with a sane figure. So it has been delayed, but the chairman of UDCOT is here, and I'm waiting for a swimming pool with a sane bill. And we're going to build a swimming pool in Sugar and Trace. And the same thing applies to other expenses. We have been through an era in this country where apparently, just call a figure, the nearer to 100 million, the better. We have had to stop many projects, but I can tell you, we are beginning to get results. Because when we stop and send it back and open it up to competition and greater transparency, we are beginning to see the costs coming down in the Ministry of Works, where contracts are now coming in under some of the estimates. And we will continue doing that, because every dollar is important now. This, coming up this valley, it reminded me of my early days. This valley, Maracas Valley, for which in the last 20 months, this is the second police station we're opening in this valley. Here we open the valley, and before we open the one down St. Joseph in the same valley. This is one of the better areas in terms of salubrious environment for residential and other considerations. Maracas St. Joseph. So much so that when I was a young man in this area, it was the first piece of land I bought in Trinidad because I wanted to live in this valley. Something happened and I didn't. And had I lived in here, I may never have been here talking to you now. I may have had a better life somewhere else doing something else. But you never know where life takes you. I was taken out of La Baja into the west in Diego Martin, and I ended up in Diego Martin West and whatever. But the bottom line is, with this beautiful valley, with all that it holds, it would be destroyed if the criminal element is not held in check, and if criminality and general misconduct is not removed or restrained. Because a small number of people acting with impunity, carrying whatever they carry, whether it is illicit drugs, whether it is firearms, whether it's the general bad attitude, could destroy this place. And you, the persons in this building, with the responsibility to wear the uniform and the authority given to you as police officers, you stand between those people and the rest of the national community who want to preserve Maracas St. Joseph and Maracas Valley as one of the best places to live and to do business in Trinidad and Tobago. It's all in the hands of the police. If you fail in your duty to restrain those who would destroy us, maybe the next time a Prime Minister comes to St. Joseph, he might be talking with a different community. And every one of our communities in Trinidad and Tobago has the potential to be a prime quality location. But this rampant criminal conduct is destroying what God gave us as a nation called Trinidad and Tobago. And we, who are not prepared to subscribe to that, must let the criminal element know that there are consequences to their actions. It is this general sentiment that there are no consequences, that nobody will find me, and even if they find me, when it goes to court, it will take as long as Methuselah's lifetime for something to happen, and chances are everything is stacked in my favor. We are not only working with and on the police service in this fight, we are working with the judiciary. We are making changes to the laws. We are making changes to how we conduct business with respect to bringing swift justice. We have a number of pieces of legislation in the Parliament right now, the effect of which is to facilitate our response to those who have issues with the court and with the law. We are currently working on plea bargaining, where if a person is apprehended, the person concedes that they have done something wrong, they accept that, and they'll put themselves to the court and have a sentence put on them without the whole rigmarole of a long trial and the rebuttal. And of course, you know the courthouse is a place where truth is in short supply and all of that. The bottom line is plea bargaining will allow us to have justice swifter with the cooperation of the person who would have broken the law. We're not inventing any wheel here. It happens in other places. And therefore, when we say we're going to do it in Trinidad and Tobago, it's on the basis of sound information and research. We say, okay, the whole question of trial by jury. The Constitution provides you with protection to have a fair trial. Never says trial by jury. But we leave the jury system there. But we give you an option. If you, only after accepting sound legal advice, because all lawyers give sound legal advice, once you have legal advice, if you agree as a defendant to have a judge hear your matter so it can be dispensed with in the shortest possible time, then you have that option. You don't have to wait on the whole carrying on of a jury system. And of course we know, I'm sure everybody has a story here about how juries function or not function, well or not so well. But the bottom line is we're adding an option to allow you to do that. We had the court clogged up with 100,000 traffic cases as criminal cases. We took a decision to decriminalize those traffic cases and to make them traffic violations and to allow you to be responding to a violation anywhere in the country. You go to Charlottesville and you speed or you park badly, you get a ticket, you could pay it in .40 when you go home. Because as the Minister of National Security said, we are now making a digital platform which allows the country to be one location. So if you go to, you caught speeding down the highway in Chaguanas, you don't have to go back a day to the Chaguanas location to pay the fine. And of course, we're not even asking you to go anywhere. We're saying it will happen easily and you will get your points attached to you. But only if you intend to challenge it. Then you must express yourself wanting to challenge it and decide you want to go into the court system to challenge it. So we deny you nothing, but we give you other options. These are the laws that we are passing through the parliament right now, and we expect that when we apply those new laws, we will influence the dispensing of justice in the country. Policemen tie up in the court day after day, month after month, adjournment after adjournment for somebody bung somebody fender. But in the meantime, those who are sharpening their knives to cut throats, those who are investigating the purchase of grenades, go unattended. Those who are hiring young boys to do a walk, and in their language a walk means to snuff out the life of another citizen, they go unattended. No, we are saying we are redirecting the effort of the police service to where it matters most. And the new laws will permit us to give justice to the other things in a more effective way. But the police can now focus more on those things that threaten our very existence. I understand the commissioner's position. We call him acting commissioner. I don't know about that, I've said so before. He's the only commissioner I have, so I call him commissioner. It's a very, very difficult job. And sometimes, we're all human all times, but sometimes it gets to us when all that comes in our direction is the failings of our human existence. If all that you're hearing is how badly you haven't done something, eventually it will get to you. And I'm not going to take the responsibility to be a flag waver for the police service, except to say that without the efforts of the police service, things would have been a whole lot worse in Trinidad and Tobago. That is not to say that the police service does not have a job to do to ensure that those who wear these uniforms and those who carry out the authority given to them by the state ought not to tolerate within your ranks persons who are manifestly unsuitable for that assignment. Maracas St. Joseph, people of Maracas St. Joseph, I want to appeal to you to work with your police officers. And police officers, as I said, you can't please everybody. Because one of the things I heard after we opened Besson Street Police Station a few months ago is that the station is so comfortable that police don't want to go outside anymore. I mean, how do you please everybody? If the station is so comfortable, they say police only watching TV in the station. Try and let that not be true. When you come to the station, let it be a comfortable place. But leave the station and go outside, meet the people out there, let them know you. Let them know who is their protector in this valley. Let them know who, after the ball, oh God, the next thing the ball is police. Right? You are all they appeal to. After they appeal to the Almighty when they are confronted by the criminal element, the good boys. And don't ever believe that your role is diminished or minimized. The people of Trinidad and Tobago depend on you. And I have every confidence that you will not fail us. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly